Hi everyone, my name is Laura. Today I will show you how to use a cookie press and what you have to pay attention to. With a cookie press you can make 2 colored biscuits super fast. Thanks to the metal spring element it won't be sticking to the baking parchment. I'm sure you will find the press very easy to handle. It takes a little practice and you definitely should follow the recipes we have created specifically for this great little tool. With a little practice, you will soon be a professional. We will start by filling each half of the tube with dough. As you can see, it has 2 openings. One side has a limit sign. So please ensure that you begin by filling the opposite side, the one without the limit sign. This works best if you fill it at a slight angle from the side, like this. As you can see, the dough already got into the tube, so if you just dump it from above, like this, it doesn't work at all. The dough just stays on the surface and doesn't really go into the half of the tube. You could do this in a small bowl as well, but I prefer the surface and I also like to use my hands, because you can just wipe the remaining dough off with your finger. Push it with your palms into the tube and immediately you can see how tight and compact the dough is moving upwards. This way you avoid forming air bubbles. When it looks like this, you are doing it perfectly. If you don't like working with your hands, you can use a dough scraper. The dough scraper is very soft and with this tool you can just shape the dough back into a tight ball, which is super important to continue filling up the halves of the tube. And this way it is so much easier to fill up the tube to the maximum line. It also is important to keep your tools clean, because otherwise, with the colors getting mixed up, you will not have a lovely result. So I will start with the darker dough. If my hands got a little messy, I can just wash them quickly and move on to the next step. Now I will fill up the tube with the darker dough, again keeping it slightly angled, and scrape the dough off the surface. Make sure it stays compact without forming any air bubbles or spaces. Use your palms to press the mass upwards, or as already mentioned, you can also use the dough scraper to wipe it off. Just like this, it is perfectly tight all the way up to the maximum sign. Now we have reached the maximum line. Take a moment to wash your hands again before continuing. Each half of the tube is completely filled up and we simply assemble them together. It is important that both halves of the tube point in the same direction. That means the max line is supposed to be on this side and on this side too. Just like that, you can easily assemble them together. In fact, if one of the tubes is upside down, they won't fit at all, making it impossible to fit them together. It is time to choose your favorite mold. I prefer the one with the flower shape. Attach the mold to the halves of the tube and use the mold holder to screw it on. Make sure that while you are tightening it, you grab on the plastic part and not on the metal spring element. Make it tight to be sure it is closed properly. Awesome! After that, you pull the metal rod on the handle to the top and you simultaneously push the gray button. Here it is important that the plunger is placed a little above the edge, because if you don't do it correctly, you won't be able to assemble it on the tube later. That's why you need to see the plunger coming over the edge, and now you can attach it perfectly. Be sure about closing the locking ring nice and tight. Now we are moving on to the Gurzler part. You may need to push several times. The plunger will push downward but doesn't grasp the dough yet. That's why I do it beside the tray. So you really have to do a few clicks before the dough starts to come out on the bottom. Now it already starts to squeeze out a little, even though it's not completely there yet. It is important that you really push the cookie press all the way down. As you can see, the spring is moving downward, as well as I recommend you using both hands for more stability. Following with a click, you wait, count to 1 and move on to the next one. Push, count to 1 and so on. Before lifting the cookie press, wait a second, ensure the dough has enough time to settle for the next cookie. This requires a little patience. Finally, you have created lovely, perfectly shaped, two-colored biscuits. It takes a little practice and you will continuously improve, slowly but surely. The metal spring element presses down the baking paper. That assures you that the cookies separate cleanly and keeps the baking paper on the tray. Once you're done creating your cookies, disassemble your cookie press. You might find some leftovers of the dough. If you do so, simply shape a cookie by hand and bake it with the others. Great! Now everything is set to put into the oven. The first biscuits are already baking in the oven. In the meantime, we refill the halves of the tube with the remaining dough. While the cookie press rests, you may find that some dough leaks a little from below, but not necessarily. If it happens though, simply wipe it off with your finger. Shape a cookie by hand and keep on stamping. Now I will demonstrate how to clean the cookie press. Each part is dishwasher safe, but make sure you remove the leftovers of the dough before putting them in. There are a few molds you can additionally open. These must be opened before they go into the dishwasher. Open the locking ring and then the halves of the tube and put it in an upright position in the dishwasher. After washing, let each part dry thoroughly, especially the mold holder. In case the spring warps, you can just bend it into shape again. It is worth mentioning again that it is very important to grab the mold holder on the plastic and not on the metal spring element while tightening it. We have come to the end of this lesson. Please consider using the excellent recipes we've provided. The consistency of the dough is very important for the success with these biscuits, and our recipes work especially well with this cookie press. I wish you a lot of fun and success baking your cookies!